Welcome into the Jordy Culotta Show. Wave your hand out there, baby!
Shout out to the show.
She puts the pinky into the nostril. Man, look at that.
Healthy competition, there's nothing like it.
Y'all grow up. The line's wrapped around the stadium. Different strengths. I just lost a tooth.
It's going to be fun.
You know, we might have a story.
I love what you're doing.
Bergeron wants to take us fishing this afternoon.
Sharif, you play for the bad boys of the SEC, man. We don't apologize to anybody.
A lot of people are saying you're going to be wearing number 7.
I don't really know. I want to.
See, look crazy, Bill. Good feet on the old man.
Definitely come back. You know, I love.
We'll be right back with the Jordy Culotta Show. A Friday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show, powered and built as always by our friends at RMB Builders. Shout out to Rhett Bourgeois and the crew over at RMB Builders as they get us set every single day here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Make sure and hit them on Instagram at RMB Builders as well. Metropolitan Health Group, formerly Metropolitan Health Group, is now Southern Regional Medical Center. They are the sponsor of our phone lines. Shay Dixon is going to be in with us at 7:30 this morning, so he'll be here. He was at fall camp yesterday. We were going to get a fall camp day 1 report from our guy Stewie, but Stewie had to bug out after he
Got me bugged out.
Bugging out for real, as he caught a little bit of that stomach bug that was going around, and not so good for Stewie as he was in early but out early, and Lloyd came in reserve and did it on the fly, so appreciate it, buddy.
Absolutely,
good to see you this morning.
I feel like Stewie did that to himself.
I think so.
We were talking off air about the establishment he went to, and you can probably put it on a short list of this is an opportunity. Like, this is a possibility I could get sick from eating here.
Yeah, I mean, like, when he told me where he ate, I was like, yeah, it makes sense. Get the hell out of here.
Get out of here. Otherwise, I'd be nervous about being in the same area.
A couple of you asking about Stewie's practice report, and we were all looking forward to it, but we're going to get it from Shay Dixon coming up here at 7:30 this morning. Did get a chance to listen to what Brian Kelly said yesterday in his opening remarks of his press conference, so we'll make sure and give some reaction to that. But Southern Regional Medical Center, remember, bringing you our phone lines daily, real doctors, real solutions. Jason Ramazan and Charlie Harvey and the entire crew, BJ and the boys over there at Southern Regional Medical Center, as always. And Mr. Funds Travel saw Jason earlier this week, and he said to make sure and give him a little last-minute push here towards the finish line as LSU, Florida State getting set for Labor Day weekend. They'll be there Sunday night, and you can be there in Orlando as well. Compliments of Mr. Funds Travel. Log online to MrFundsTravel.com. MrFundsTravel.com is where you can find them, and you can jump aboard. First-class airfare, get you to Orlando, bus trip from the airport to the hotel, hotel to the game back to the hotel. And they will have first-class accommodations just like they always do for you over at Mr. Funds Travel. Check it out over there. Before we get in to Brian Kelly and what he said, before we get into some practice reports that Shay's going to be through here in 20 minutes, I got a DM yesterday from Mac Markway's dad, Matt Markway, Mr. O'Doyle.
Yes.
And he asked, and I think this would be a fantastic trip, and we want to put this together, and we want to get some content for it. He wants to kill a gator. He wants to go gator hunting. And he's, like, relentless about this. He's an avid outdoorsman. He is someone who is he's a hunter. He's into this stuff, man. He loves it. So he wants to get the Louisiana experience of going gator hunting, and he wants to kill and trap a gator. So I told him, I said, look, man, I'll do my best. And I think the best way to do this is just use this platform and put it out there. So, I mean, we know some people down in like Atchafalaya Basin who do that type of stuff. I just want to make sure we're with the right people. If we could get with like the real hunters,
Shoot 'em.
I mean, like if we could get with Ronnie and the crew, man, that would be incredible to take Mac's dad, Matt Markway, down there. So if you got to connect, if you got a plug on killing a gator, get in touch with us, Jordy at JordyCulottaShow.com, and let's take the Markways gator hunting. You can do it for your business. We want to get the content, and the Markways want to kill a gator. So everybody
win-win
wins
for everybody.
Right? Let's see if we can't make this happen for our
Clip
guy.
from the parish.
I mean, somebody's got it. I mean, there's got to be a listener in the Atchafalaya area that either knows the swamp hunt. I forget the name of the show now.
I mean, you think I'm up there? What you think? I watched that.
I mean, but it was so
it was so popular,
famous for a while.
I just know the tagline: "To shoot 'em."
Yeah, absolutely.
The guy with the beard.
But I mean, if we could make this happen, that would be awesome.
Swamp people.
Swamp people.
Troy Landry and the boys.
Yeah, I mean, I know they're big LSU fans.
Mm-hmm.
I know they're big football fans. So this would be a cool trip for everybody. All right, Brian Kelly yesterday. Let's make that happen for the Markways. Brian Kelly yesterday. Man, how refreshing was it to listen to Brian Kelly on opening day of fall camp? Really. And I know that the Brian Kelly love has been oozing out of this show. And look, very unintentionally, I think that it feels as if it's Kelly's program here in year 2. He's very much established himself inside the program. It feels as if he's the guy that's leading the charge. All of his habits, his principles, what he wants to get out of the program is instituted, right? And he alluded a little bit to that yesterday in installing practice habits last year. I remember there was an example of someone who was coming off the field in a little bit of emotion during a practice rep, and as he was coming off, he unbuckled his chin strap and he kind of picked his helmet off and he kind of tossed his helmet aside, not necessarily, threw the helmet down, but it was, kind of just he was a little annoyed and aggravated at himself, to be honest, just for not making the play, and his emotions by not making the play just kind of unstrapped his helmet, just kind of threw it to the side, and Kelly stopped practice. Shut down the entire operation, not just that field. At LSU's football practice, there's about 3 or 4 fields that are having action on it at once, right? And I mean, Kelly hits the air horn, everybody shuts down, and he uses that moment as a teaching example to show what is the expectation and what's not going to be tolerated at LSU football. And some of those things that, I think we've said this before, in covering sports, you see the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? If you've got enough access, and Kelly has given, again here, overwhelming access to the media. Now, look, there's portions of it where you can't film and you can't have your technology out, but you can stand there and watch and take the reports back to something like this and say what you saw. Shea Dixon will do that here in a couple of minutes. I mean, really, unfiltered access is something that, and we'll talk a little bit more about transparency of Kelly's program coming up here in a minute, and the refreshing thing that really was meant behind that statement. But when you just see that last year there was a learning curve that had to be traveled for Kelly and his staff to just kind of install what they wanted. Install the principles, the practice, the habits, the procedures, the policies, all of this stuff, making that business his. This year, you don't have to go through that. You've got veterans that are teaching young guys, and it's established in the program of what the expectation is. So that alone is giving them a little bit more of a head start here in year 2 to just, getting on the field and getting going, right? But the more refreshing thing that Kelly said in the opening day of camp is how transparent he's going to be with injuries and how overrated and time consuming and energy sucking that can be for a program. And it was so, again, I hate to keep pounding on this word, but refreshing to hear Kelly say, like, and I'm speaking from Kelly's point of view, and him saying yesterday when he said, I have never seen it to be an advantage of either hiding somebody that you may think is injured or not telling the public about somebody who is injured. There's never been a time where he's ever seen it to be this huge advantage or a piece that has really helped them win the game. And not LSU, throughout his entire 34-year coaching career. But, going into explaining why that matters, just by clearing up all the red tape, not only for media and people that are talking about it, but for his own program. Like, as he said, he's like, there doesn't need to be all of this wondering and curiosity within the walls. Right? Like, I mean, it's, and look, you have to abide by HIPAA, and there's certain things that you can't just openly, publicly state. But, I mean, whether or not the player is going to be active for the game it's going to be news that's going to be accessible to us. And I still think that Kelly is going to protect his program and make sure that they have the best advantage to win. But he's not going to spin his wheels and suck his energy on things that don't matter. Right? And we've had a front row seat here at LSU, and I don't want to just pound on it, but because everybody does this. I mean, we've talked about this so many times. Coaching the industry is the most insecure trade I have ever been around. And I'm talking about, like, even now when they're multimillionaires. I mean, I was around coaches back when they were making a couple of $100,000 a year, and it was still a great living. It was still a great living, and still have access to them when they're making multi-million dollars a year and having an exorbitant life. They're living a great life. The one thing that's common is that they're still miserable. They're still, like, overwhelmingly insecure, overwhelmingly just the world is out to get us. Everybody, hide everything. Don't tell anybody. I mean, like, it is exhausting almost to a degree to be around that personality of just, like, it's just an exhausting way to live. Like, just screw it, man. Tell them. I mean, like, just tell them. Like,
it's almost harder to hide it than it is.
It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
It's not that big of a deal. Right? I mean,
act like it's the Oval Office. Like, don't tell them about aliens. You can release some of these secrets. People are going to be able to put it together, especially when I understand that you don't want to have people be able to prepare as if they know what your roster looks like. Like, I get that part of trying to hide some of those things because if John Emery can't go or Brian Thomas can't go, that changes the way they prepare for the week. But when it gets to Wednesday or Friday, I don't see there's no reason to really hide it at that point. The game plan's already been put in.
Yeah. And
so you want to be transparent with the media, because I think I kind of knew where you were going with the previous coaching staffs here, where it was such misdirection that it was like, you're confusing yourself.
Well, yeah, it's too much energy.
Yeah.
Like if you're worried about this on Wednesday, they don't have the best chance to win.
You're not doing your job.
I mean, like, if you're putting all the punters in number 38, like, that's way too much thinking behind all this. I mean, it's just, what do you think is going to happen if they figure out that they do play? It's like, at some point you got to go play.
Right.
I mean, like, at some point you got to play the game. But for Brian Kelly to just, and look, his body language and his explanation, I mean, he's even, like, the way that he's talking about it, he's like, this is dumb. I mean, this is stupid. Like, it's changing. I think Gilbo was like trying to like get some stuff out of him. Like, is this like massively different from like what you? And he's like, I mean, it's just consistent. I mean, we're just changing it up. Like, don't like you don't overthink it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's been dumb forever, and we've been playing this game, and I'm just saying I'm done. You know what I mean? We're going to tell you what we can tell you. And like, all right, good, thank you. You know what I mean? Like, thanks, man. I mean, and at that point, it really kills all that. So what's going on with Mason Smith?
What's going on with the program?
So what's going on? I mean, like, are they? Is he hurt or not? It's like, no, he's not. He sprained his ankle 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, the master class of this is Bill Belichick. If you want to go like 180, the opposite direction of doing it all the time, is Belichick when he'd put Tom Brady on the injury report every week, and he was always probable or questionable. And they would have to ask him, and he's like, I mean, you see the injury report, it is what it is, we'll find out on game day. But he did it for the last 5 years of Brady's career probably, and it just became a known thing that, like, well, Tom's going to play. And so what's the point of even putting him on the injury report? I think the bigger takeaway is this is like a microcosm of Brian Kelly taking over the program, where you're starting to get consistency from throughout, whether it be an injury report or practice or a game. Like, he's just doing everything kind of in a way that makes you feel a little bit better about who your head coach is.
Yeah, no, absolutely it is. And that's really more over what it is. And that's kind of my if you want to call it excitement, that's fine, because I am. I really am amped to hear that LSU really is in these conversations and has this coach to lead the program, because it will – there was a lot of what if for my generation, people that were older than me, and watching where LSU was heading in 2004, right? Like, I mean, look, the last 25 years, the last 20 years of LSU football has been a magical ride. For everybody that's been on it, it's been awesome. I mean, I didn't become a real fan till the mid-'80s. Tommy Hotson's the first memory I really have around LSU football. So you think about the 80s closing it out, they were pretty good. The 90s, they were terrible. And in the 2000s, it just was a rocket ship. And you think about kind of what if they would have kept a guy in place with consistency that had that vision of knowing what the program was, what it could have been. It's been awesome, 3 championships, 4 appearances. Western Division titles, SEC championship game appearance. I mean, like they've done it all. But there's always kind of like, well, what if that person would have stayed, or they would have had that person in place that understood like how to run it consistently every year. And now they have that guy. And he signed for another 8 years to a contract that gives him the time, the space to really experience that, right? I mean, like, to me, this is where LSU does go possibly to that next level where, yeah, they have a seat at the big boy table of college football. I really believe the conversation, you can't get too far in college football without talking about LSU. But there's always been this feeling around LSU that it could probably be a little bit better than it is. Right? It could be a more dominant than it actually is. And it's dominant. I mean, it's consistently there. It's always around the championships, but it's not as consistent as it probably could be. And it feels like this guy is the one to really just kind of year in, year out build an expectation where it's a championship contender. Kelly also talked about Jimmy Lindsey stepping away. And look, that is a situation that I think, from just a personal standpoint, we have to really just keep that at the forefront, man. Make sure Coach Lindsey is going to make a recovery for him and his family and be okay. So, again, today as we, talk football and we are all excited and looking forward to the season and talking about who's on the field and who's standing out. Very scary situation with Coach Lindsey, and obviously you can hear it in Coach Kelly's voice as he sets it up. He was asked on a timeline on it and just couldn't give it of the possibility of when Lindsey could return to LSU, and he also explained some of the shakeups that will cause with him being away, and you shift Bob Diaco to now focusing on linebackers. You have John Jancic, who you brought in to coach the special teams. You move him to defensive line, who's kind of been someone who's been versatile on the coaching staff, where you kind of like a Swiss Army knife type of guy that can oversee a couple of things, be consulting in different position groups and rooms where he can cross over. And when you're faced with a situation like this where a position coach has to abruptly leave or be taken off the staff and in an inopportune time, you've got somebody that can just step in and take care of it. Not take care of it, but step in and hopefully just coach the spot up going into the season. So a little bit of adversity on the staff. He did also announce that former LSU standout Jacoby Stevens would be joining the staff as well. It's good to see Jacoby back home or back here at LSU working and on the staff with Coach Kelly and the crew. Brian Kelly also talked about John Emery and his status. It was good to hear that Emery has closed out this internship with a status which Coach Kelly called fabulous, and what he's been doing to meet his academic requirements. So it's another running back. There was one thing that I did take away from Coach Kelly talking about what was happening on the field yesterday, and it was the running backs. I mean, it was the number of guys. You start going down this running back line, man, and you think about it. I was asked yesterday, I was on with my friend Eric, I'm blanking out, in New Orleans. I can't believe he's going to kill me. But Eric Asher. I was on with Eric Asher yesterday inside New Orleans on the radio, and he was asking me about position group and battles. And he was kind of trying to steer it towards the defensive backfield. And I think that's the answer. Like I told him, I said, I think that's probably where everybody is going to look. But I think a sneaky position battle that, we haven't really talked about, just because, I don't know if we all expected it to be so competitive, is running back. Think about it. You're adding John Emery onto the field today alongside Trey Bradford, Noah Cain, Armani Goodwin, Josh Williams, and two freshmen who have, a lot of confidence in Trey Holly and Caleb Jackson. That room has just multiplied overnight, right? With high-end, big-time guys that I think, you don't have the 20 to 25 carry guy in that room. Logan Diggs, I didn't mention, who Brian Kelly talked a lot about yesterday. But, another guy. I don't know if you have that 20 to 25 carry a guy game. I don't even know if they run the ball 25 times a game anymore. But you've got a series of options that you've got a couple of guys that can do, similar things, but you've got guys that have special skill sets that you can throw in there and see how they work. I'm not gonna fall and chase the Trey Bradford rabbit down the hole or fall in the trap, but I am curious with a guy like him and weapons like LSU has in a running back room that has so much versatility, how you look at a guy like him who can step in and hit a home run for you just about anywhere on the field. Because that is the one deal, the one skill, the one thing that I think the room was missing. For as much talent as they have in the room, there's not that one guy that can.
If Armani's right, I think that would be
Maybe?
your next option. Yeah, because what you saw the last play against, not the last play, but one of his highlight plays before during the Mississippi State game, you kind of saw that explosion where he has that ability. But coming back from a hamstring is what's going to make it tough to see if he can still have that burst that he had.
Yeah.
But Trey Bradford's probably the next guy that you'd be like, don't let him get in space.
Let's see.
Yeah, expand. Then I think Emery still fits that mold, even with his size. I think that he is a guy that anytime he touches the ball, you got to be a little bit nervous because you saw it last year. There's some runs where he's one cut away, one hand tackle away from taking an 80, and so I think those would be the guys that you'll see if he could take it, like I said, 80.
And
you're not going to get that from Noah Kane, I don't think. You're not going to get that from Josh Williams.
No, they can't do that. And that's, I don't mean that
But
disrespectfully, but I mean, that's just
12.
a scouting report.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to have their skill set.
Absolutely.
And then one thing that Kelly said yesterday, and I see Jack Ballard, our guy inside the chat, mentioning this, is he said they might put Aaron Anderson in the backfield.
Why not?
I mean, and that would be my question. Like, why not? Because seeing him move around yesterday, I wasn't there, but I saw video. It's exactly what we thought. It's exactly what we talked about. Exactly what you knew you were getting in Anderson. A quick twitch, one step, foot in the ground, see ya, gone type player who can change the dynamic of the game, the scoreboard, at any moment, right? At any time, he can take off. So maybe you use him in some sets where, remember where they used to talk about using Jamar Chase at running back and just tossing it to him? I've only seen the Bengals do that. The Bengals have done that with him a couple of times where they'll send him kind of in motion from his wide receiver spot, and as soon as he's behind Burrow, they'll snap it, and they'll just kind of use him like a running back and just toss it to him and tell him to get to the edge. Get outside and see what happens. And I would love to see Aaron Anderson get a couple of those a game.
Well, and I think the playbook is out on what you can do with Aaron Anderson when you look at the Chiefs, how they use Tyreek Hill and how they use Kadarius Toney. That's the two. That's how you do it. Put him in motion, put him in the backfield, let him play wide receiver, but it's all from that slot where you can do a number of things. You don't have to pigeonhole him just into go play wide receiver because he's too elite of an athlete to do that.
Yeah. Shay Dixon's here. We'll talk about what his impressions of day one was going into day two of fall camp and some stories and beyond coming up here in recruiting. Come back with us. Remember, daily here, we're brought to you by Katie's Restaurant. Katie's Restaurant is located down in New Orleans, located on Iberville Street. Our favorites, Katie's Restaurant, online, katiesinmidcity.com, katiesinmidcity.com. Been around since 1984. Great things on the menu, some of New Orleans' favorites. You can always go in there. We told you yesterday, new Sunday hours. They are embracing football season. You can get in there for pregame and postgame. Get over to Katie's. They just added 5 new TVs. They're open 10 to 6 on Sundays, which means they're embracing the pre- and postgame crowd. So you can get over there and do a little pre-gaming if you want. You can do some post-gaming as well over at Katie's. katiesinmidcity.com, katiesinmidcity.com. Shay's here. He'll be in next. Make sure and hit that like button. Make sure and subscribe to the show. If you have not subscribed, we appreciate you being here as we will discuss LSU Day 2 fall camp coming up here next on the Jordy Culotta Show, built by R&B Builders. Hey, fellas, it's Jordy Culotta for my friends over at Men's Total Health. Guys, do you suffer from fatigue, decreased libido, erectile dysfunction, weight gain or loss of muscle mass, signs of depression, anxiety, hair loss, mental fog, general loss of interest? Then you might be suffering from low testosterone. Go see my friend Mike Roach and his great team over at Men's Total Health, over in Metairie at menstotalhealth.net online. Stop in and see how they can change your life today. A simple shot and some knowledge from Mike Roach can get you back up, moving with your energy, get your sex drive back, build your muscle mass, make you feel young again. All online, menstotalhealth.net. Red Stick Sports, a local staple in Baton Rouge to all sports fans, was founded back in 1981 and has remained a family business for over 40 years. Today, they still have the great selection on the floor, but they're also a leader in custom apparel for businesses, sports teams, and other groups. Take it from us, everybody over here at FM Digital Media. They help us out with all of our apparel. Let them help you out today. Go ask for Cody over at Red Stick Sports. Check him out online at redsticksports.biz.
We're all from different places and backgrounds. We've each experienced our own versions of life, but in the end, we're all on the same team. I'm part of that team, along with these players in purple and gold.
Kayshawn Buddha, Malik Neighbors, Miles Frazier,
Kyron Lacey,
Greg Brooks.
Whether on the field or in the courtroom, your team matters.
So join our team.
Make a difference.
Bet. Let's get it done.
The Jordy Culotta Show is brought to you by A-Bears Lawn Maintenance. Commercial or residential, A-Bears Lawn Maintenance is ready to work. A-Bears can tackle all your homeowners association requirements. Call Blake at 225-485-8022. A-Bears Lawn Maintenance.
In a wreck, Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys is ready to go to work for you. Come meet your team.
I'm your intake specialist. I coordinate your case and connect you with your attorney and paralegal.
That's us, your legal team.
Thanks. And we'll fight to get you every dollar you deserve.
I'm your settlements and disbursement manager, and I'm here to get you paid on time.
I'm attorney Gordon McKernan. Put our team to work today. Just call us. Get it done.
Are you looking for sound financial advice? Then get in touch with Daniel Newman of Edward Jones. You can call him today at 225-261-8262 or email him daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. If you're planning for retirement, saving for college, for children or grandchildren, or just looking for sound investment opportunities, get in touch with Daniel today, 225-261-8262, located on Magnolia Square Drive in Central. Daniel Newman of Edward Jones.
Hey Tiger fans, when you're traveling through Natchez, Mississippi, make sure to visit Tom and Wright Granning at Go-Mart and On The Go Deli, where you can fill up your tank and your belly. Go-Mart has clean restrooms, community coffee, an awesome beer cave, and a great selection of anything you may need on your trip. Located at 4 Sergeant Prentice Drive as you're entering Natchez on the left. Also stop by Wardo's Po' Boys at 309 North Broadway on the beautiful Natchez Bluff, where the Po' Boys are so good you'll swear you're in Cajun country.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
All right, welcome back here on a Friday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show, built by RMB Builders and daily brought to you by our friends over at Ochsner Andrews Sports Medicine Institute. Remember, they treat more than 30,000 athletes a year with innovative treatments for sports injuries. If you want to get treated like the pros get treated, you can. You can log on today and get your appointment at ochsner.org/sportsmed, ochsner.org/sportsmed to learn more about what's happening over at the Ochsner Andrews Sports Medicine Institute. We'll be telling you a lot more what they have coming up. The elite football training facility on the corner of Burbank and Lee is an Ochsner facility. We'll be telling you about that coming up here over the next couple of weeks. We'll be over there for their grand opening at the end of the month, and really looking forward to telling all of our listeners about the exciting things that's happening in and around with Ochsner. But log online to learn more about the Ochsner Andrews Sports Medicine Institute just by visiting ochsner.org/sportsmedicine. Shay Dixon's been with us every Friday. He's been recapping recruiting and getting us up to date on what's happening. Now the Tigers are on the field, and he'll give us a little bit what happened yesterday in day one, and also some big stories around the recruiting world, including Colin Simmons, looking as if he is going to make his commitment here over the next week, and what that means for LSU. Shay D, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm reading the bottom lines. What was Mac Markway's dad trying to do?
He wants to kill a gator. He DM'd me yesterday, and he's like, I want to kill an alligator, and I'm like, well,
I follow him on Twitter.
I do too.
I think he played tight end at Iowa. Maybe
he looks as if he still plays tight end.
I think that's what I was going to say. I think a lot of his stuff has been hunting stuff, so he's probably trying to expand his portfolio, and he might be into some barehanded.
Yeah,
grab this.
I think that he would go like
Jordy. We don't need those.
I think he'd go Titanic on the P-Row, like swan dive on the head of a 10-foot gator, and like not have it any other way. Like, Mac, grab my phone, take a picture.
Yeah, we won't need that gun, Jordy. I got this.
You go to get the gun.
Hey, Troy, keep your gun. Yeah, right. Let me show you how to do this, Troy.
Your best
Not me.
episode yet.
Not me by any means. I'm going to be on the big boat behind him. All right, Shay, let's start with recruiting. Colin Simmons. This is huge news that he bumped this commit, or I guess
both he and Caden Durham.
I guess did he bump his commitment date up? Or
there
he
was
just set
never
it?
one set. I think everyone just presumed he would take it to signing day.
Right.
So now both he and you remember obviously Caden Durham on this show said he would do it on August 25th. That was the season opener. Now they're both doing it August 10th, which I think is the first day of school, but I don't know what else kind of significant is about that date. But they're doing it on the same day, so.
The Bayou Splash must have been great.
Must have been the best pool party of all time.
Maybe they did have the jet skis.
So, I mean, like, do you read this as a good thing for LSU?
Well, I think if you read strictly just the tea leaves, right, the actions here, he's visited LSU and Texas is the main competition. He's visited LSU and Texas the same number of times over the past year, and that would be noteworthy given Texas is, he's in South Dallas, and Texas is, you can get to Austin easier than you can get to Baton Rouge, or at least a little more quickly. So his interest in LSU has been very sincere from the start. Then when you say, you got to remember there was a month-long NCAA dead period in July. There's a month-long NCAA dead period in August, and that means that you can't have any face-to-face contact with recruits. So there was a 6-7 day window where recruits could go, as quiet period, where recruits can go to a campus. So you'd assume if, Colin would check out a couple campuses probably. Then he went up to New York, and then he came down here to LSU for like 3 or 4 days, and then didn't visit anywhere else. And then comes out of that visit and says, I'm ready to announce. You can't read that as bad news. That's got to help some, right? But I do think Texas and LSU, the things I hear, they are just having to swing back and forth here. And that's to be expected for a 5-star, number one edge rusher in the country that every college team has been after from the start.
What goes into recruiting a guy like Simmons? How does LSU get to this point?
Consistency. I think you have to build relationships, and beyond just surface level relationships. I think you got to really get to know the family, ensure them that he's in good hands here. Life after football, all of these different things, beyond. Yeah, you're a 5-star. We want you. We win. We'll win national championships. You'll play. I think it's the reality of development. What we can do to get you drafted. You can point to guys like Chason coming out of Houston, who was a lot more raw than a guy like Colin Simmons is going first round here in the past 3 or 4 years. But I'd say relationships. You can't be in this one for this long if you didn't get in with the family and with Colin and really make kind of a real inroads towards kind of a trust, a relationship built firmly on trust.
What does Jimmy Lindsey's situation mean for defensive line recruiting? And I want to make sure that we pay respect to Coach Lindsey and his health and make sure that's always at the forefront.
God, yeah, prayers up.
Yeah.
I don't know. With Colin specifically, nothing really, because he's an edge guy. John Jancic is the edge coach, and I know he's helping with D-line now, but he's been recruiting him. But this is a guy like Colin Simmons is a complete staff effort. Now you've already got Ahmad Bro and Demarion Johnson in. My prediction was and has been that they were going to try to go after 2 more in-state D linemen, being Dominic McKinley, 5-star out of Acadiana, and then Gabriel Relaford up at Evangel, who's committed to A&M right now. So I'm not underselling the D-line coach's responsibilities or the weight he can pull, but those are 2 in-state guys. You've got to be able to do that with everybody. Frank Wilson, Brian Kelly, everybody's got to be chipping in there. So you'd love to have Coach Lindsey back as soon as he can get back, but for right now, I don't think they're taking a major hit with just these 2 guys kind of they're focused on for this year in terms of recruiting the D-line.
One more on recruiting before we get to yesterday on the field. Wardell Mack not being at the Bayou Splash, what does that mean and where do they stand?
Well, if I'm going to sit here and say that Colin Simmons had a 7-day open window to visit anywhere and he visited only one school and it was LSU, and you got to take that as a positive, I have to say the same about Wardell Mack, right? That he had 7 days to visit somewhere, and he didn't visit LSU at all, and they're right down the road. And he went to Florida. I actually think Texas is the team to beat, but this one, I don't think this one's over until signing day. Nor do I think one like Colin Simmons will be over until signing day. That said, you just have to get Mac and his family around campus more often, and he hasn't visited since the spring. So if he were to announce something right now, like this morning, I don't think it would be LSU. But I'm not sure what that means for signing day. And again, they've done a very good job recruiting Louisiana this cycle, but you would like to be able to come away at the end with at least one of McKinley or Mack, who are the two uncommitted guys.
What did you see yesterday? What jumped out to you on
Football?
opening day? Yeah.
Yeah, some football. 2 hours of it. A lot of individual drill stuff. I'll say that offense to me seems so clear. Like they return a bunch of starters on the O-line. Now you've got a transfer in Mason Lunsford. You've got a promising 5-star in Zaylon Hurd, so you're good there. Mike Denbrock's done a great job of beefing up the tight end room, so you got Mason Taylor back. Now you've got all these freshmen coming in like Markway and Pimpton and McGohan, Gilbreth out of JUCO. Running back, Frank's got 8 of them. You know,
what's
and
he gonna
Jaden's
do?
going to lead the team in rushing probably.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
I think this is going to look more like Frank's years where who was it? Michael
McGee.
Ford and Terrence McGee and Blue and all those guys were like all kind of getting carries. I think that'll be kind of how it is. And he'll ride a hot hand, but when you have that many options, and I'll say this too, there isn't a guy in that room that I would point to and be like, he's never going to play. He's not good enough to play here.
I agree.
You know, it's like all of them are good. They all are either just true freshmen. They were injured. You know, Emory's just coming back. Bradford wasn't with the team for a year. Josh Williams has kind of been your bell cow, and he even got injured last year. Noah Cain's been the only person who's been healthy the whole time. So a lot of those guys have some question marks, but you've got 8 of them, so you feel good about that. You've got maybe the best 1-2 punch at quarterback, at least in terms of readiness this year to put on the field. And receivers is exactly what we thought. It's Brian Thomas and Lacey and Neighbors on the first team, and Aaron Anderson knocking on the door. He'll play a ton. We saw Ibieta out there and Chris Hilton with the second team. And if any of these true freshmen want to play, Sampson, Kyle Parker I thought looked good. Jalen Brown had a couple vertical routes where he beat some guys on. He's got really great speed. Kai Prion. Any of those guys want to play, they've got to beat out that second team, let alone try to scratch past the first. So they rotate those guys, but the offense, I think, stands out to me. It's you know what you're getting.
Yeah. What about defensive line?
I think in a way you know what you're getting. I think more than anything, that first team unit is wildly good, right? I mean, boy, you get Mason Smith back. You have Mekhi Wingo back. You look at a guy like Savion Jones, who had a handful of sacks last year, and I think he's going to have a breakout season now at end. And now you've got that jack position where Agofu and Swinson, Jackson Howard have all been playing. But Agofu and Swinson being a couple of transfers that have played a lot of football that you can kind of throw out there and rotate. And we'll see what our guy Deshaun Womack does, right? I mean, a 5-star, could play edge, could play D-end. If he's playing D-end, I feel bad for Savion Jones because my man's Savion Jones is a 5-star on 3. He's an unbelievable player coming out of St. James, and I firmly believe he'll start. But you look behind him, and you're like, damn, Quincy Wiggins, 5-star sitting behind me, and now behind him they've got Deshaun Womack, another 5-star. So
Jackson Howard looked good in the spring.
Yeah, he did. And then I think there was a number of people kind of over the summer who said, talking to people around LSU, they said Jackson Howard impressed. So I think that defensive front looks very, very good. And linebacker looks good with Spates coming in as a veteran. I like Greg Penn. I think Matt House does too. And then you've got Perk. Not Perk 40, but Perk 6, or what is he? Perk 4? Yeah, 4 now. And then the Weeks brothers. And I thought West is a fine second-team player last year and special teams guy. And when he's on the field, I'm more than happy with it. And I love Whit Weeks. We saw him have that pick in the spring game, took it back for a tutty.
He's kind of a forgotten name going into the linebacking role. Everybody was talking about linebacker and who are they going to play and who are some names. And Whit Weeks, to me, is kind of one to watch here as – I mean, he's still young, right? I mean, he's still very young. But, I mean –
I want some of those 1980s photo shoots. You know, like the ones with the LSU where they had all like the gun, you know, like the rifles and all that. You know, I'm talking about the shotguns.
It's right there, bro.
It's right behind me.
Yeah, the
I
dunk
want Perk 4 and Whit Weeks just solo.
Buddy cop.
Yeah, right. Both with shotguns sitting there.
Leather jacket.
Tell me about Jaden Daniels. What you saw yesterday.
I wasn't going to try to look too much into quarterbacks. I went and watched him down at Manning camp, though. He and Nussmeier. And you can tell he's worked on his deep ball. That's something he's going to try to focus on more because that kind of defines often an explosive passing game and was really that missing element. So I think we'll see him chunk it deep a good bit more. And I think it, too, comes down to last year. Was it trust in not just his trust, was the play calling, is that, hey, do we want to go deep and take shots, or do we want to be a little more conservative? And does he know his receivers yet? I think a year later, all that's thrown out the window. So now he knows I can throw it down there and Malik Neighbors or Brian Thomas, or in the spring game, Kyron Lacey, first play or whatever. Just throw it down there. He'll grab it with one hand and then stay up and score a touchdown.
60.
Yeah. So
where do you see Aaron Anderson fitting in?
Slot, and he was working with the punt returners, and I would be very surprised if he didn't win that job. Now, again, Greg Clayton sort of saved him there last season because he can actually catch the football, but you look at back what Aaron Anderson did in high school. I mean, he scored almost 20 touchdowns on special teams. You can't not have him back there. And
I didn't know that.
I think he had 18.
That's incredible.
He was probably one of the better special teams players to come out of New Orleans in the past decade plus. So there's no reason to get him from Bama and bring him back home and not have him back there.
Yeah.
Especially when it was such an issue a year ago.
Who do you think is going to lead the team in catches this year?
Malik, I think. I'd like to see Malik's touchdown total go up more than 3 or whatever it was last year.
Yeah, we have 3 touchdowns and over 100 receptions.
And he went over 1,000 yards. So, yeah, Malik.
Where does Brian Thomas fit in? Is he just the red zone threat, or is he's a big playmaker? Right?
I think he's a playmaker. Yeah. I think he finishes second on the team in catches, ahead of Taylor and Lacey.
Right.
So I'll go Neighbors, Thomas, Taylor, Lacey, and Thomas, Taylor, Lacey being sort of close.
Are they going to play all these tight ends?
I think you've got to get Corey Pimpton in there in some form or fashion. Again, he's 6'6", 245. His senior year highlights were nuts, and he can catch anything, and we saw him day one. We weren't even 10 minutes into practice. It might even have been a walk-on quarterback. I wasn't watching who threw the ball, but threw one kind of towards the sidelines, and it was just a bad throw. And he just twists out of nowhere and goes and gets it and gets both feet in. And everyone was sort of like, who is that? And I was like, well, you'll see. You'll see.
Won't take long.
Yeah, so I would not be surprised if he had a couple touchdowns this year. Like they throw him down there in the red zone and throw it to him.
Oh, I agree. What about Mason Smith?
He's that dude. He is that dude. I'm telling you, he's everything that he always was, in my opinion. I just still think people are overlooking. I think we all drink the Perkins juice. And he's awesome, and he's maybe the best player in America. But don't forget about Mason Smith. That guy changes so much for what a defense can do. Demands a double team. I think he's the best interior, and he can even play, a DN spot if he wants to. But one of the best defensive linemen in America, and it's a money year for him. You're going out there fully focused. I'm healthy and ready to roll. I think he's the highest pick off this team.
Him and Wingo right next to each other.
Ooh, nice little combo.
Right? Then
you got the Savion Jones and those boys ready to go.
That's starting 4.
Well, and look, you've got Tank Guillory back, and I think they will play a lot of true nose tackle stuff. They did it with Roy a year ago, even though he wasn't a true nose. Fitzgerald West, they brought in Jalen Lee. Jordan Jefferson from West Virginia played a lot of football. Paris Shand. So they've got real depth now on the D-line, let alone that their first-teamers are all very productive, kind of highly thought-of players.
What was Deshaun Womack's status yesterday, and where does
he was out there fully dressed? I think it was just day one, so he's kind of just working with the backup guys. But as camp goes on, we saw it with Perkins a year ago. Even during the season, it was special teams game 1. It was a little bit more of you get on third downs and long, and then it was. You're coaching the team. You're calling plays at this point, at the end of the season. So I think Womack will be on that trajectory. Play him a little bit and ease him along in year 1.
Yeah.
Go get the quarterback.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
That's the goal.
Going back to your running back situation, I was talking a little bit about this before you got here.
Without me.
Before you got here, yep.
Yeah.
had to do something with the show.
Yeah, right.
Got it.
How are they going to handle this?
I do. Okay, I think that you got to come out. You have to ask yourself, who is the most trustworthy person? If you said right now, I got to give the ball to somebody.
Noah Cain?
I would, or Josh Williams, right?
Josh Williams, yeah.
So I think those two are your first two. I think Noah Cain has proven what he can be, which is a red zone guy.
Right.
He stacked up the touchdowns last year.
Protects the ball.
He'll hold on to the football.
Protects the ball.
And he can get you a few yards every single time, it seems like.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Josh Williams and Noah Cain are not home run hitters. So you need some of that in there. Whether that's Emory, whether that's Trey Bradford, whether that's a healthy Armani Goodwin, whether that's, don't sleep on it, Caleb Jackson.
Really?
Who, I mean, this is a kid who was 218 pounds running 10.6s. I mean, coming off of an ankle injury that ended his whole entire senior year. I saw him make a couple plays yesterday where he cut and went upfield, and it was like, yeah, all right. He can hold on the football, and he knows a couple plays. They'll put him out there. But I would expect early in, like that Florida State game, I would expect it to be Josh Williams, Cain, Diggs, and some guys that you can really trust to know the plays, get out there, hold on the football.
Yeah. Trey Holly tweeted 2 weeks ago that
I missed this.
Yeah, I think he tweeted that like I made a mistake or something, but he never gave any reference to it. He just kind of tweeted that.
Could
out.
be about a girl.
Uh-huh.
Could be about anything.
Uh-huh.
I don't try to.
Yeah.
I hate decoding the youth, this generation's tweets and Instagram posts.
Yeah, for sure. No, I feel you on that.
Could be anything.
Logan Diggs. You could hear the trust that Kelly already has for him, obviously knowing his game.
Yeah, he recruited him. He's coached him that first year, and then the second year when he didn't coach him, when he was playing under Marcus Freeman, he went over 1,000 all-purpose yards. So, you don't go and get him out of you don't have 7 running backs and go get Logan Diggs for no reason. So he's got to factor in somehow, and I think it's that. And he said it at media days. He and Josh Williams are 2 guys who can play. They're 3 down backs, and so if you can catch it, you can block, assignments, and you can hold on the football and run it, then you're going to play. So, like I said, I would expect those 2 and Noah Cain to be your Florida State, the guys who end that game with the most touches, carries, however you want to put it.
Yeah. Offensive line, to me, has been the biggest change of momentum and shift that has really kind of resonated that this is Brian Kelly's program, right? I mean, that's one of the identifiers that he has obviously put his mark on very early. What did you see from that front 5 and then the depth that he has quickly built behind them? What do these true freshmen look like?
There's a lot of Notre Dame grads, played O-line, that are waking up today in a mansion because they're hella players and they got developed and they make a lot of money. And that's what you wanted when Brian Kelly, that's one piece of Brian Kelly, was that he knew the formula to get O-linemen and what they should look like and how they should be developed. And obviously Brad Davis has done a really good job recruiting. So I would agree. They have flipped that room so quickly. And now you've got those 2 true freshmen out there in Emory Jones and Will Campbell who aren't coming off the field. You've got a healthy battle at center. You've got 2 returning starters at guard in Dellinger and Frazier. You took a transfer in Lunsford, who was playing as a backup guard. You've got Zalance Hurd, who you can work in if you want to go the Will Campbell and Emory Jones route with him. It is a really talented group. They're going to be better than they were a year ago, obviously, because all those guys are a year older now and more experienced, but they also have more depth. So even getting into the Marlon Martinez and rest of those guys. So I love their O-line.
Love them. I mean, do you feel like Hurd can crack here?
I'd be a little surprised if he didn't, because in the years Brad Davis has been here, we've seen early in the year, especially when you're in, they'll play Grambling, there'll be some other games where they just rotate guys. And think about last year, Cam Wire, there were a couple guys who started that first game against Florida State, never saw the field again. So perform or you're getting on the bench and the next guy's going in. So you can't just sit there all season and keep looking over your shoulder and seeing a guy like Zalance Hurd and not put him in. So I think at some point he's getting in there.
That's right.
Coach put me in.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, and he's the type of kid that would be in your ear.
100%. Yeah.
Saying I'm better than this guy, so put me in the game.
Well, I remember what he told Brian Kelly. Loved that story. He's like,
I'm coming
and
for
Will,
the tackle.
he's like, and you get to play with your buddy Will Campbell again out of Neville. He's like, yeah. I'm taking his job.
Taking his job.
Like from PK was like, he meant it in the nicest way.
Will.
Calm down, Will.
Easy. Defensive backfield.
There's where it gets kind of murky. And not at safety, because you got Greg Brooks, you got Major Burns, those are returning starters. You've got Sage Ryan at nickel safety. He's a returning starter. You've got Andre Same, who's played so much football. Langlois healthy. Toviano is out there getting second-team reps. Jordan Allen, I think it still looks good as a second-team guy. It's like safety is fine. Corner is exactly what Brian Kelly said. You have no idea until you get to Florida State. I thought from watching him yesterday that Zy Alexander actually looked probably like their best guy.
Really?
Coming out of Southeastern. Now, granted, they're running Denver Harris second team, and I think by design. I think they continue to want to put that carrot and dangle it in front of his face. Shelton Sampson ran past him yesterday on one play and got some distance on him, and Shelton caught the ball, and Denver's recovery speed was there, and he kind of got him from behind and ripped the ball right out, and they both went down. Shelton goes, it's like Shelton's first day of practice. He goes to get up, and Denver just shoves him right back in the ground and is like walks over him style. And a couple of coaches we don't do that here. Like, we chill out.
That's the stuff we're talking about. Like, we talked about that specifically yesterday about Denver Harris, that they know who he is.
He's got that dog in him.
They look at him and they're like, all right. They just got to make sure. Like week 7, 8, and 9.
He's the most talented by far.
It's not even close.
It's not
close.
You just gotta keep him on the leash.
You gotta make
sure.
Let him
get
right. Like,
beware of dog.
That situation right there. That's third quarter, third down. Get a stop. You stand over him. You push him. Get a flag. First down. That's the stuff that they're trying to coach out of him right now.
The Perkins standing over Jackson Dart. It was a great photo.
A great photo.
I'm sure Brian Kelly was not happy when he got to the sidelines. Perk,
right.
Chill. You just killed the guy. And
Right.
now you're flexing on him.
Right. We don't want to give him the ball back.
Yeah.
Did the same thing against
that's just the stuff.
Bryce Young in Alabama.
That's right.
On that play that he made on the sideline. He was there for a little bit, then they had to go grab him and pull him off. Like, Perk.
Yeah.
No, don't give it back.
Right. No, not yet.
And he got that flag on special teams against Florida State, remember, in the opener. I think they just kicked it out of the end zone. He just went and knocked somebody. Just went and knocked someone's head off. So
right.
Those guys have that dog in them, though.
Yeah,
you just got to reel it in.
Yeah, I mean, you got to coach against that, man. And I think that's what they're doing with Denver Harris. They know. I mean, it doesn't take a pro NFL scout to go out there and say that's the one.
It was funny though, because I saw it developing, and it right away multiple coaches like, chill out. No fights.
So. From a corner standpoint, how about Terrence Welsh?
He was running first team, so I think it was Zy and Deuce Chestnut, and then it was Welsh and Harris. So he's out there in those first two teams. I think it's his, hey, look, take it and run with it, Terrence, because you've got a year under your belt now. You are healthy. You battled some injury in high school. He didn't have any injuries last year. He was playing special teams, so he's available right now, not injured. I mean, all those jobs are up, open for grabs, so go take it.
Last one, I'll get you out of here on this one. What about the special teams aspect of this, moving Jancic, who was brought in to really fix an issue? I mean, special teams was a problem. He was brought in specifically to fix that. Now, in the story of Jimmy Lindsey here, one group that's affected by it is special teams by moving Jancic off and switching him to defensive line. How concerning is that, and how do they handle coaching that group now that their coordinator is off?
I guess, again, it was described early on as an all-hands-on-deck effort. I would imagine it still is. And Brian Kelly's been in this 30-plus years. Special teams should be elementary in a certain way, blocking down on extra points, and field goals or whatever it might be, and covering kickoffs and staying in your lane and kicking it out of the end zone, which I think is just a good idea anyways on kickoffs. And they can't, again, people knock Brian Polian, but they can't go catch the football on a punt for you. Find the guys Greg Clayton, they've said, it took you 7 games to do it, but you found someone who could catch the football. Go into this season ready and rolling with a guy you trust, and I think they'll be fine on special. And again, Ramos, that was his first year last year as a kicker. Malik Neighbors, who I thought probably should have stayed at the punt returner, but just had one of those days in week 1, and it sort of set the tone for the year. But I think Growden's one of the best punters in the SEC. You're not getting any bad snaps from a guy like, why am I blanking?
Slade Roy.
Yeah, Slade Roy. Sorry, Slade. No bad snaps from him, so I think special teams will be fine.
Yeah. All right, on threes coverage, practice, recruiting. This is, you're in it now, huh?
Yeah, well, it should be a very eventful month of August in recruiting. I'll say that. So let's stay strapped in.
So Billy will be making the trip to Duncanville on August 10th?
No, Billy's very upset. Billy is taking the only vacation of his summer. He's going to Maine next week.
Wow.
And Billy lives in Dallas. So he's like, I've driven down to South Dallas so many times for these Duncanville kids. Now I'm not going to be here. So, he'll be remote on this one. But shout out to all of his work at Duncanville over the past.
Because he probably planned his vacation around that.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah. He's
moving
like,
the
they'll never do it then.
Right.
They know.
They know.
That's great.
Billy's going to Maine. We should do it then.
Yes. That's actually what it's all about.
Yeah.
Shay's over at On3. Make sure and read the work at on3.com. Recruiting, in-season football news, all that you need to keep up with over at On3. You can read his work at Shay Dixon. Hour 2 coming at you next.
Oh, we're going.
Southern Eye Center is located at 6859 Jefferson Highway right here in Baton Rouge.
From different places.
In a wreck, Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys is ready to go to work for you. Come meet your team.
I'm your intake specialist. I coordinate your case and connect you with your attorney and paralegal.
That's us, your legal team. Thanks. And we'll fight to get you every dollar you deserve.
I'm your settlements and disbursement manager, and I'm here to get you paid on time.
I'm attorney Gordon McKernan. Put our team to work today. Just call us. Get it done.
Are you looking for sound financial advice? Then get in touch with Daniel Newman of Edward Jones. You can call him today at 225-261-8262 or email him daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. If you're planning for retirement, saving for college for children or grandchildren, or just looking for sound investment opportunities, get in touch with Daniel today, 225-261-8262, located on Magnolia Square Drive in Central. Daniel Newman of Edward Jones.
Hey Tiger fans, when you're traveling through Natchez, Mississippi, make sure to visit Tom and Wright Granning at Go-Mart and On The Go Deli, where you can fill up your tank and your belly. Go-Mart has clean restrooms, community coffee, an awesome beer cave, and a great selection of anything you may need on your trip. Located at 4 Sergeant Prentice Drive as you're entering Natchez on the left. Also stop by Wardo's Po' Boys at 309 North Broadway on the beautiful Natchez Bluff, where the Po' Boys are so good you'll swear you're in Cajun country.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
All right, welcome back. Hour 2, Jordy Culotta Show, built by R&B Builders. Appreciate our friend Shay Dixon from On 3 stopping by here to give us the latest on what's happening out at LSU as they go into day 2 of fall camp, as the Tigers will be on the field this morning at 9:45, and they'll be opening the media for a certain portion of it, and we will have some reports for you, as always, over through social media. Make sure you're following us there at Culotta Show. Make sure you're keeping up with what's going on inside LSU, and we always appreciate Shay for stopping by here on these Fridays. Remember, daily, we're brought to you by our friends over at Click Here Digital Marketing, an experienced full-service digital marketing company with 30 years of success driving incredible results for their clients. If you're seeking an award-winning, technology-driven partner to help you grow, look no further than our friends over at Click Here Digital Marketing. They have worked with some of the country's biggest companies, especially within the automotive space. If you're in the auto industry and you want to learn how digital marketing can really change the way that you do business, get in touch with our friends over at Click Here Digital. You can email me if you'd like at jordy@clickheredigital.com, jordy@clickheredigital.com, and take you through some of the process of getting you set up over at Click Here Digital Marketing. It is a digital marketing monster right here in Baton Rouge, looking out for the country. Online, clickheredigital.com, clickheredigital.com. All right, we give you the hour 1 report of LSU football on the field. Tigers, a little bit of recruiting news there as Shay was in at the back half here of the first hour, talking a little bit about Colin Simmons and his teammate, Caden Durham, who seems to be a LSU lean here heading into the August 10th commitment date. That will be actually Duncanville's Media Day that they host on campus for their team, and both Simmons and Durham will make their college choice during that event, and many believe LSU to be in the driver's seat for both of those guys. So Shay was talking a little bit about it. You can keep up with all that stuff over at On 3, but a little bit more about what he said was happening on the field yesterday. And obviously day 1, there's a lot to take in. There's a lot of people that you want to look at. There's a lot of position groups that you want to get to. But hearing what Shay had to say about the defensive backfield goes into a little more about what we were talking about yesterday, right? Where opening day of camp, you've still got Denver Harris running with the second team. You're giving guys, not giving, but you're also allowing guys like Zy Alexander and LaTerrence Welsh to have that's got to be big confidence building steps for them on day 1 to be holding down the top spot at corner and know that, look, man, that's what they think about you going into the season. If for nothing else, like, keep that confidence riding high no matter when you play, when you're off the field. At least you know they trust you going in. And, you know, what Shay just gave the example of, and if you missed it, go back and check it out. Remember, everything's archived over here. You can always get to it on YouTube. Easy to find it. Make sure and subscribe if you're coming in for the first time. That way when you're out there and you're looking for specific content that may be around LSU football or something that you like hearing about here, you can get notified once you have that subscription. So subscribe to the channel. Make sure and hit that like and share button. And if you want, you can hit that bell next to the subscription button. And when we go live, you'll be notified. But one thing that Shay outlined and described with Denver Harris is exactly what we were talking about yesterday. I mean, like, to the T. They know that Denver Harris is the most talented cornerback that they have on the roster. Just by pure skill, just God-given ability, he is the most naturally gifted cornerback on the team. For LSU to succeed, to achieve the ultimate success for themselves, they need Denver Harris to be Denver Harris. And I think that, in my opinion, they don't believe that they have to worry about what Harris is going to be like on the field playing. Their concern is how he handles his emotion and how he handles off the field. So they're taking this time on the field to try and teach him and discipline him to be ready for the season and let him know that they need him. But also to let him know you can't let them down. And I think it's going to be something that pays off for him. And it goes into a little bit of, you know, the depths of coaching, right? Like a little bit more of some of the steps you have to take to coach everybody differently.
Mm-hmm. This is the other coaching hat that you have to wear sometimes, right? Where it's, you know, obviously you're always going to coach them in football, right? But this is like the life part of coaching that, look, if you don't understand like the talent that you have and the way that it can be also be squandered, like you have to get this right first so you can do that thing. Because a lot of people or there's a lot of scenarios where they don't, like the player won't be able to put it, but like you saw with Kayshawn last year, where it's, well, why would you not buy all the way in when everyone around you's bought in? And we need you to play to do what we want to do. We'd like for you to be there and be a part of it. But if not, that's when you have to determine how you want to coach them. Like, you want to coach them hard? Do you put them under your arm? Do you find them a mentor? All those types of things are what coaches have to deal with outside of X's and O's.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, look, man, you a lot of the stuff we don't see, a lot of the conversations we don't see. And those are some of the things that you just have to deal with. And sometimes you have to deal with it and do it with your best players. And that's when the best coaching is done, right? Like that's when the most gratifying and some of those stories that you hear about where 4 or 5 years later, 10 years later, the player comes back to the coach and says, man, I apologize for, you know, how it started, but I appreciate for the lessons that you taught me within it. And, you know, there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about it. And to a coach, I mean, I've seen it in the moment when guys come back and say things like that. It hits so much harder than a win does. It hits and brings a piece of emotion to these people that, you know, seem like they're impenetrable, like you can't affect them. That, you know, like I did my job. You know, I mean, think about it. Think about when somebody comes up to you and tells you, job well done. You're like, appreciate it. You know, no matter if you're the most humble person in the world or you're, you know, the center of attention everywhere you go, people like to be told, thank you. Good job. Appreciate you. Right? And, you know, sometimes that goes a lot longer way with people than we recognize, right? I have a great mentor that I meet with now, and he runs a very successful company, and he flies all over the country speaking at these events, and, you know, he meets with all these people, and it just lives one of these high-level, C-level executive life, lives on a jet, right? And he says that it's his job as the CEO to be the chief energy officer. That's what he looks as his role in his organization. That when he sees people shoulders shrug, head down, eyes down, it's his, what he deems responsibility to pick them up, to keep them going, to find out what the issue is and if they can help, and let people know that they are there, that people care about them, that people appreciate them getting up and going to work, that people appreciate them putting in the time. It just, some of those things go into coaching that we would never even realize. And I've been guilty of that. I didn't realize it until I saw it. Right? I mean, I remember there were moments when I was around LSU basketball with John Brady early on, and, you know, for as much pushback as he got around his personality, and sometimes rightfully so, especially to the public, you saw things in private where you were like, damn, bro, you should You should allow people to see this. Because this is very humanizing. This is very relatable. This is very grateful from the player. Right? Like, all Brady's players hated him. No, they didn't, man. No, they didn't. I mean, I've seen it. And see all these guys coming back around. Right? For even the hard days and the hard times. And that's just that was my window. That's why that's my example. I'm sure that there is a list hundreds of miles long of coaches that have those types of stories, but there's just a lot more than putting the right guy in the right position to make the play or hit the shot or make the catch that goes in to coaching. And I think that we're seeing that with a star like Denver Harris, where they know what they got. I mean, like, you know, it's not like you have, well, can he play? Hell yeah, he can play. He can play so well that we need to put a lot of time and energy in to make sure in developing the human. Because look, there is a little bit of selfishness from the coach's standpoint. If you get him right, you get the dividends of him being the player. You know what I mean? So if he's out there with a clear headspace and he knows my coach has got my back, the program's got my back, I got friends on this team that really know me and respect me, then it kind of clears your lane. I can run a little bit faster. I can jump a little bit higher. I can think a little bit clearer. My eyes are a little bit wider, right? I mean, think about that in your own life. I know that works for me, right? I don't have to have it. I don't have to be, good job, man. But when it does happen, you're kind of like, oh, all right. Maybe I can pick it up a speed or two.
It gives everybody confidence that, okay, I am doing this right. You know, you don't have to think. Now you can just react. And that works in sports and work.
Yeah, and I think that's what's happening with Denver Harris. I think that's what they're trying to show him. I think that's what they're trying to kind of get to him, that, hey, man, it's cool here. Everybody's got you. Everybody knows you can play, and we're trying to give you the resources that you can succeed with. Now help us help you, and you help us.
Yeah, don't be the guy that's doing the opposite of everybody else. Like, LSU has gotten to a point where Brian Kelly has, like, did you see that picture that they put out from his first day talking to the team to yesterday?
Yes.
The two.
Right.
Like, you could see even in, like, the attire that players are wearing. Like, now everybody's kind of, like, in the same thing. Like, they're bought into what Brian Kelly was selling. And if you're Denver Harris, or I'll even say kind of, I think you can throw Kay in that same boat, where it was, you're the only one standing out for all the wrong reasons. Like, everybody else is kind of towing the line here. We're all pulling the rope in the same direction, except for one guy. And if you're that player, you'll look back at it and be like, I don't even know why I did that. You don't even love it. What are you doing here? Like, you can be as good as you want to be, but if you don't use it, if you don't want to be on the team, we can't help you. And that's where Brian Kelly is going to have to probably do his hardest coaching job. It's just getting the individual to be a part of a team. Right. You always have one or two.
Devin Sanchez, who was a 5-star cornerback in 2025, narrowed down his list to 10 schools, speaking of high-end corners. He's out of North Shore, which is down in Houston, same school that Harris went to. Mm-hmm. He's the number 2 cornerback in the class of 2025. He's ranked the number 7 player in the country. He's got 10 schools available to him. Both the Texas schools, A&M and the Longhorns, Oklahoma and USC, Alabama and Oregon, Michigan and Ohio State, and Florida State and LSU in the top 10. So we will see where 5-star Devin Sanchez ultimately chooses, but LSU made the list. They're on the top 10 of the number 2 cornerback in the country, and we'll see where he ultimately decides to go. Shea had good tidbits on both recruiting and inside of LSU's practice yesterday. That'll be the same stuff for you coming up today here in day 2 as the Tigers will be back on the practice field this morning. So make sure and stay up with us on social media and stick around with on3.com for all of Shea and the crew's updates. Nick Saban bought a house yesterday, the news came out yesterday that Saban is going
You're
to
on the
be,
realty beat?
Is going to be next door neighbors to Tiger Woods.
Whoa.
As he bought a palace beachfront home in Jupiter, Florida. A $17.5 million home down in Jupiter, Florida. This is getting the locals restless over in Tuscaloosa. People think that he's getting his exit strategy put in place. He's looking at life after football. I ain't buying it. I'm not buying it, man. I'm not falling for the banana in the tailpipe until it happens.
I mean, do you see him smiling at leaving the podium yesterday? He knows something. It was very coy, him getting off the podium, like after he met with the media, whatever, and he's grinning ear to ear. I don't know if it was the house just closed or if he feels like the questions that he was getting, he's leading the media in the right direction as to what he wants them to ask. You know, where it's good, motivate us. Look what everybody says about
Absolutely.
you.
And tell everybody I'm retiring after this year.
Yeah. But it was just a very wry smile, something you don't see from Saban a whole lot.
It's
didn't make me more confident.
He's not going anywhere.
No.
I'm not doing it, man. I'm not gonna be the one that keeps falling for Saban and his tricks. It's not gonna be me, man.
This Stu Gotts and Tom Brady.
Absolutely.
No, he's not falling off. I'm not gonna be the one.
This is. Don't do it. Don't do it, Lloyd. I love you, man.
Yeah, don't.
Don't do it. I love you.
I love you, buddy.
I love you, buddy. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Oh, you've been betting against.
I mean, Levitard killed off Brady after his third ring.
Yeah.
I mean, he was like, "This guy's done. He's retiring."
Don't do it, buddy.
Like, don't do it.
I care about you.
Don't do it. I really like you. I care about you, man. Don't do this.
Yeah, if you start pronouncing Saban dead now and you look up in 10 years and he's still doing it, you're just like, oh, no.
Wouldn't surprise me at all. I've got 5 years for him.
Yeah.
I would think that would be the number.
Probably has to remodel that house a little bit before he gets in it.
He's never home. This is... You can't take these types of people and personalities and put them in a palace or a golf course or where did he go this summer? Italy.
He hated it.
I mean, he hated it. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter, man. I mean, this guy's not looking forward to anything other than seeing where Devin Sanchez is going to choose where he goes to school next year.
He's happy because football is back. He gets to go do the thing he likes.
I mean... It was a real estate investment. He's not moving there.
He's a happy man.
He'll be back for a lot more years. Lot more years. Don't fall for the banana in the tailpipe, folks. Nick Saban is not leaving Alabama.
Maybe he's a little reinvigorated because of Brian Kelly. He's like, oh,
okay.
A challenge.
Finally.
Been waiting for y'all to get this right for 10 years.
We have been drinking out of an umbrella drink the last decade, waiting on somebody else to show up to the party in the West.
That's the week I had to work the least.
I mean, A&M thought they had somebody in Jimbo. We killed him last summer.
Know all his tricks. But November, the first week of November, used to probably be as easiest preparation in terms of no wrinkles.
Copy and pasted that thing for a decade. I mean, I always tell the story that there was one coach. It was crazy. There was one coach that was like out loud about how LSU fired Les Miles, and it was Nick Saban. I mean, like, no, everybody else was just like, yeah, I mean, we respect Les. LSU's got a job to do. They made the decision. I mean, Saban was like, I mean, you can't treat a guy like this who's given so much to the university. I just don't understand why they're treating. And you're like, Nick, buddy. We understand why you would be a little alarmed right now, but they finally woke up over there and realized this guy's a dipshit. You know what I mean? I mean, you've been copy and pasting your game plan for a decade on him. And, I mean, the secret's out finally to his bosses. Then they hired Ogeron. He was like, oh, all right.
I did it again.
Sweet. Okay. Never mind.
No, don't y'all treat Ed the way y'all treat Les.
Right. Look, I really like Ed.
He's another good coach.
Ed's a good guy. All right. You need to keep him there as long as possible.
I mean, what do you have to do in this profession to keep a job?
Hadn't heard a word about him since when they hired Brian Kelly. Not a peep. Saban's not going anywhere, man.
I feel bad for Stu. He typed up all these notes on the practice report. He's all fired up.
I know.
He go home and I guess he's laying in his bed.
I know.
Probably
He was bad off. I mean, this was not. I know what the fake job looks like.
Yeah, I don't want to go to school.
Yeah, I know what the I don't want to go to school look, and I know the game.
Yes. I've been at the game.
Right. I mean, I had a little hand in invention of the game. Stewie did not. I mean, I did not want to shake his hand. I didn't want to get too close. I told you probably should have scrubbed that keyboard because I really think it is real. I mean, he had like that. When you kind of like you're trying to walk around to find how to get comfortable. You can't sit. You can't stand.
You don't know if I should be in the bathroom. You just kind of
crumped over. Yeah. I mean, even Stewie, who is tough to show. I mean, I don't mean this but he was pale.
Yeah.
I mean, like you could see, like his lips were like, it was just like, bro, you're sick. Dude.
Yes.
You're sick. You're sick.
That's when you hit this move, when you're just trying to be quiet, and maybe I just hope I fall asleep.
Or just get me in a place that I just can.
Don't feel like I'm going to throw up.
Get out of this spot,
yeah.
Man.
It'll all get out of him.
It is the worst.
It's the worst.
It's the worst feeling ever.
Day changer.
It is. It's really why I don't mess with alcohol.
I don't think it was alcohol.
Yeah, no, I don't either.
Oh.
But alcohol can put me in that
place. Oh, yeah, the hangover?
Or just that sickness where you're like,
malaise.
Get me out of here.
Yeah, and there's nothing you can really do to fix it.
No. There's nothing you can do. Except not get there.
Yeah. Or start drinking again.
Are you going to so we got practice this morning at 9:45. Obviously, Stewie was
incapacitated.
Was looking forward to that. But hopefully we'll have some boots on the ground out there. Make sure and keep up with social media. Hit that like button, share button, comment button. If you have not subscribed to the channel, make sure and subscribe, please, before you get out of here.
You catch any football last night?
I caught a little bit.
How was it?
I caught a little bit.
That said DTR took over.
UCLA
quarterback that, beat LSU.
Yeah.
But that's where he's going to shine.
I think DTR's in the league for a while.
Yeah, this is if you're him, like that was a great spot to be in because he's like young, exciting. You don't really know what you have, but put me in a preseason game against like third stringers, like I'm better than them.
Yeah, I was in a restaurant watching it, so I don't have any type of feedback on. I don't even know if who made plays or how they.
Right.
Was there any LSU?
I don't know.
Grant Delpit, Greedy Williams, any of those guys?
I saw Oppenheimer last night.
Really? Mm-hmm. What'd you think about it?
I thought it was a lot.
It's a lot of movie.
It's a lot of movie.
It's a lot of movie. You probably need to see it twice.
Yeah, because there's a lot of dialogue, which I'm glad I knew going in. It wasn't my dad was like, so we're not going to show World War II? We're not going to show like Japan?
Right.
I was like, I don't think that's what it's about. It's about the man.
Right.
And I didn't know the end part where he was getting, thrown in. They threw him to the wolves.
It shows you, man. That was. They were treating him like a spy.
He did have spy. They put some pieces together that it was like you almost could convince himself that he's like, well, wait, probably shouldn't have been doing all that stuff. Like I didn't think of it like that.
Right.
And they're like, oh, you're working for Mother Russia.
Right.
He's like, no. Like, well, I see you at the Communist Party. It's like, shit.
What do you mean? Like, you hired me.
Yeah.
Like, you came and found me. How good is Downey Jr.?
Bro, I didn't realize that was him for like the first 2 minutes of the movie. I was like, wait. That's Downey because it's in black and white. And he's got like the old man hair, and I was like, "That's not Iron Man." I was like, "I don't know how they did that."
How good does he play that role?
The acting was incredible.
Just like the ticks, like the stuff that he's incredible.
His monologue at the end, is electric.
It's awesome. If for nothing else, the bomb blowing up is worth it all.
Oh, and then, of course, obviously light travels faster than sound, but the fact that you got so mesmerized by it, you forget that the wave's coming at some point.
Right.
And that lunatic that ran out there without the goggles. Like, what are you trying to... I have to see it. Yeah.
Later, buddy.
Good. I'll die on this hill.
Right.
But it was epic.
It is. It's a great film.
And we did 70 millimeter, so you could really see it.
Mm-hmm.
It was awesome.
Thing. Yeah, it's fantastic, man. It is a lot of... You'd probably need to see it like more than 2 times.
It's basically a book. It's basically somebody reading you a book is what it felt like because there's so much dialogue in it and how they portrayed the character. It feels like you were like more reading about somebody than listening to somebody act, or maybe it was just that good.
Mm-hmm.
The only downside, I had 2 people sitting next to me that were abysmal. Abysmal in the theater.
No way.
2 just good old.
Was it packed?
Wasn't packed enough for them to have to sit right next to me.
So you didn't move?
No, because I didn't want. It was too late now. They came in like 30 seconds before. Popcorn everywhere. Drink. Like, just being absolutely a vile human being. I was like, bro. And then they're like commenting on the movie out loud.
God,
and it's like, you think they're acting like they're in their living room. And then he finishes his Coke. He just drops it on the ground, finishes his popcorn, throws it on the ground.
Ugh.
And I was like, I looked at him and I was like, are you serious?
Ugh.
And I was like, what? I was like, oh, God.
Oh,
Wife was in an
God.
Altuve jersey. And I was like, look at this. This is a cast of characters
Wow.
here. And I was like, you could have sit next to, like, why are y'all even in this theater?
That is-
You don't even know who this man is.
I mean, that's the short straw.
That's the risk of the movie going experience.
That is. It happens when you go into public.
But it would have been as bad if it was actually packed. If there'd have been more people there,
Right.
I wouldn't have noticed. But it was literally just these two people that I could hear every comment they made, and they were like commenting on when Oppenheimer met the president. I don't even remember which president it was, but he's like, "Oh, president's got him in a pickle." It's like I just didn't understand what they were experiencing as opposed to what I was experiencing.
Right. All right. Have a good weekend. Hit that like button, share button, comment button. We'll be back with you Monday morning.